Been a long.
Put your trash out.
It's just sorry.
Everybody?
Weekend
Yeah.
was busy.
Late. Oh, man. They're there at 7:50. Line if I don't hear them on the street over.
Water.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did not have to.
Oh, the rain we had, absolutely.
That's always makes.
Almost had a dream.
Been experiencing cleaning paintbrushes and stuff. I'm sure I have.
And it was getting low. I don't know.
Right.
Doesn't go.
And it's even soft. water.
Yeah.
Were you painting or doing something else?
Yeah.
Um,
Really looking for you?
No.
Maybe you should be the jury.
That's one of them, but you know, something going on Fifth Street on Saturday, bunch of sheriffs, crime investigation van.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Kyle.
wow,
He probably has no idea.
that's awesome.
Some exciting going on over there.
It was at, probably about 3 houses down from.
There's
the question. I just
You weren't here. You weren't here at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, you're right. That was, well, I guess mostly for the people up in
Let's see, robbery.
for the salts.
Was it big? I don't know if you saw it. I mean,
Correct.
Stone tend
No.
to hear about that?
When?
Oh, maybe a year or two ago. And the sheriff was giving the report.
Boy, how about that rainstorm we got? Yes.
I saw it. So they.
It filled my people. It was fast too.
Usually that when we're actually, there's a lot of discussion
It's in the
residents with the council members that we need to change this. Maybe it was just that.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's.
Oh, early in the morning? Was it early in the morning?
No.
It was early in the morning. Maybe it was many bloody Marys in the
Left
bar.
Side umbrellas on by the pool. I looked out the window and said, oh no, that's. I gotta get out there.
Heard a lot of people
Put on-
saying, you had to take it.
Because I said, Betty said, you should never go. I said, that's gonna last about 1 second. The way the wind was blowing.
They forget where they were.
Yeah. I left the car in the garage.
Years ago, we didn't worry. Now we better take an Uber, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Years ago, you got a slap on the wrist or even driven home.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ah,
long time ago.
wow. Yeah,
In Chicago, the best thing to do then is get friends.
Yeah, that wouldn't be
with
good if
The
that
young
got
guy your
started.
age, whose father's in the police department. If you ever had a problem.
Barb, I'm gonna be there this weekend. My son wants to see the bean.
You go to Chicago?
Yeah.
Is wear a vest when you,
What?
that's how bad it is.
I heard. I've been to Chicago, where the Cubs play.
Mhm.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the city council work session, August 24th, 2026. It is now 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. And will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert,
Present.
Councilmember Bean,
Here,
Councilmember Goff,
Here.
Councilmember Harper, Councilmember Shirley. Here. Vice Mayor Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Gaddis.
here.
City Manager Reepler.
Here.
City Attorney Trask.
Here.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Let's roll right into item number 1, which is unfortunately discussion of a future utility undergrounding assessment. City Manager Reef, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. So, at the last meeting, I brought a proposal to provide an opinion of probable cost. And that was, for a future, possible undergrounding assessment that we're interested in, running throughout the city. And the original, area looked at, which was, brought to me by, Vice Mayor Roberts, He lives in this area. And it seemed like a logical section of the city, because of the way it's divided by Causeway Boulevard and also the way we, decided to underground the Duke sections on Gulf Boulevard. It makes up of about, I believe this proposal says 199, houses or parcels. When I ran this on the GIS, I got more, closer to 191, but some of the other areas of the city that were discussed, I also pulled up. So the northern portion, which would have been the rest of the undergrounding that needs to be done, north of 22nd Street. In the meeting, we brought up Howard, where some of us thought it was undergrounded. I did look, it is not. So when I pull up that section of the city and I counted the parcels, it looks like the undergrounding starts on Bellevue Estate, or Belle Isle Avenue, just past the park and Hibiscus Drive East. So that area is all undergrounded already, as well as Bellevue Estate Island, which was the first undergrounding assessment done. So this area of the northern portion of the city, which includes just south of the marina to 23rd Street, makes up roughly 209 lots or parcels. And then lastly is the southern portion of the city. And if you look at all of the southern parcels, you got 216. But we also talked about where there was interest from the houses that are on the water. And if we were to look at only those, it comes down to 33. So I am not sure exactly where the interest is in the city as far as getting utility undergrounded. It seemed like, you know, originally we had a nice chunk in the middle. The idea was that if we took down possibly a third, that we could do the other pieces in about relative same size proportions. But in any time that we do a large portion, the more we can add to it is going to reduce the cost for everyone. And in speaking with Mark Porter, he's with Utility Consultants of Florida. He's participated in the Bellar Beach undergrounding project since the very start, where he got it going out on Bellevue Estate Island. And then he's continued doing underground in this whole area. He's been working up and down Gulf Boulevard with many of the cities. But I brought him here tonight because his experience, a lot of these questions that we have, he's just got enough field experience that he can answer most things. So when I bring up this midsection makes up about 191 parcels, and then member Shirley brought up the northern section. Do we feel is there anybody that we know up in the northern area that like similar to Vice Mayor Roberts that feel like we could spearhead this project or keep it moving forward? Because the important piece of this is we need to figure out how much of the city we realistically want to take down and go after, and then we have to get this proposal probable cost, and this is very important that this number is figured out correctly up front. On the last project, there was an issue where it was underestimated. The loan was pulled out, and then a second loan had to be pulled out to make up the cost. Part of that was what I understand was the circuit was a loop. It was originally designed to just be one feed, causing multiple houses to go out, but we know that up front now. So some of the hiccups that we had on the last project should not happen again. One thing I want to talk about though is the equipment. It's important that we understand which equipment is going to need to stay above ground versus what is going to be underground. It's important that when we are looking at this proposal and assessing the costs, that we look at the communication pedestals, the options for those, and that they are put underground. because I guess my understanding was on the last project, there was some resistance. But if you are going to go and do a project of this scope, we want to try to get everything down underneath, obviously. But I'll just leave it there. I just wanted to cover kind of where we're at. From what I understand, Vice Mayor Roberts is very interested in doing this center section of the city. And then I heard that we have possibly some interest down on the water in the south. So that 33 parcels along the water have a heavy interest in getting undergrounded. But I do not know.
Well,
much
I can
outside
just
of
tell
that.
you, along Harrison Avenue, if you're
Okay.
asking who.
I know you
Site,
did look at
we
that.
went down this path, we got a price for it, but we were only 25 homes. It wasn't enough. It wasn't cost effective because it
Mhm.
wasn't enough, didn't make a big enough impact. I can tell you, we had like 80% participation at the time we did that. We scoured the area to see who would be interested in pursuing it. But because the costs were so great, then the other thing, I think we determined that once we do Gulf Boulevard, it's gonna save us interior a lot of money because there's not that intersect at the end of each road. It gets moved back down the road a little bit.
That's what I understand. And Mark, do you mind coming up to answers kind of some of this information for us?
Real quick, what was the number of parcels approximately in the darker green area, if it incorporated the whole thing? Was
So I just divided off on the south side, the houses on the water to the houses that are all the houses. So there's 216 total, but 33 of those are on the water.
how many on the water?
Section's about 200 houses,
Yeah,
basically.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
One question, did you include Howard?
yes.
On the north section, yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I see some familiar faces and some new ones. I'm Mark Booth, Utility Consultants of Florida. Thanks for having me here tonight. Any questions I'm happy to help out with. To your point, of course, economy of scale is going to give everybody a better deal at the end of the day. So usually if you've got just a street with a number of 5 to 10 homes, it's going to be just, more homes you can get incorporated in the project, the lower the cost just for the economy of scale. And you do have the Gulf. So the most expensive part of the project is the feeder, which is currently ongoing corridor. So your termination points and switches, that's your biggest expense. Those are getting installed as part of that job under the penny for Pinellas. So that's a huge advantage. So now when you tap in and go future into the neighborhood sections, you do have some of those costs that you don't have to worry about absorbing now where you would have had to a year or two ago. That helps.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for coming tonight. Just a quick question on the economies of scale. So your gut feel at this point, there's 3 sections there. And all of them have about 200 parcels, as Kyle was just telling us. So what would be, if you owned all this, how would you approach it from a construction standpoint? Would you do all 3 of them at the same time? Or one of them at one time until that's complete and then go to the second one and then the third one? Or some combination of 2 at a time? Which would be best?
Usually that's driven by, so you use the word precision municipalities, they drive that, right? We want to kind of phase the project dependent on any constraints with the budget. If I were doing it, it was my community, I would want to do it all in one shot.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to have to mobilize or put in termination points for the next phase. I would just get it done with, have it all knocked out at one time. It's usually cheaper that way as well. But you can, it's really what your desires. If you're like, we really want to try to, if we get this one, sometimes the cities will use a certain phase or a segment of the project to get interest in other phases that might not be enough to get the survey to go through. So sometimes they do them by phases just for that intent. There's one that's, you get 80-90% survey, people are favorable for the project. It'll move forward. When you start seeing the benefits of those areas, other communities that are sections of the community will say, hey, we want to jump in on that as well. So you're not going to, I don't think you would lose the economy of scale in that approach if you wanted to kind of segment it out. As long as it's done within a general time frame, you can, it's always cheaper to do it all at once, but it can be strategically done if that's the vision of the city, to look at it, what the cost would be if you kind of staggered it through different phases.
Okay, thank you.
It's really the long way, but if I were to do it in its entirety, it's just the cheapest way to do it.
And
I
where,
understand,
go ahead.
I said, I understand what you're saying. And nobody knows at this point, for example, in theory, there may be one section that right now would be ready to rock and roll based on the percentages we need. And maybe the other zone, again, we don't know at this point. If we tried to combine the whole thing at one time, we may fall short, but we don't know because we don't have the number to go forward yet to knock on the doors and convince people to move forward.
And you have a good gauge because Marvin's section was what, 134?
110, I thought.
113, yeah,
113.
113. So 113 homes. So you have a great comparable to say if each one of these sections are roughly 100 and something to 200, your economy of scale is going to be there. Obviously, 200 is going to be slightly better. If you just have an area where it's 5 to 10 homes, you're not going to have the economy of scale. But if you do that, you got a model of what it was back when Marvin's section. Not to throw you under the bus, Marvin.
I have a question. The current strategy for Gulf Boulevard, there's pedestals, I think every other home, something like that. Those were placed strategically to connect behind the homes on all the feeder streets. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So does that create expense issues for moving forward with undergrounding on the feeder streets?
A little bit, because you're going to have to go from those, so, everything has to be accessible from the front side of the roads in the future, design and planning. So you guys have those rear easements in your neighborhood. So obviously you'll have to take them to the corner one direction or other, but it's not feeder. So that's the huge thing. If you had to run feeder around, you're talking a lot more money. When you're doing so you've got your feeder, your primary, and then your secondary. Your feeder is your main hub that goes down the corridor to the switches. Everything beyond that's going to be the distribution going back in the neighborhood. So you're talking smaller.
I'm sorry, I was referring to feeder for traffic, and not the other way around, but it makes sense what you're saying.
Yep.
So during the undergrounding process, if all the lines and the homes that are back to back, those lines that run between them, so they would stay there but be underground? Or are you saying that they go in a different area?
Yeah, so if you go underground, everything would be front access. Right now it's rear access. So your transformers are sitting between the properties on the backside. They'll just be on the front. So that's the only downside is that I don't know that it's a downside in my perspective, but there's going to have to be transformers to the front side of the property so that they can be accessed from the road when that Duke goes through there. So that you want that anyway. I don't know that I'd ever want them to have to go into the back of my property to access that stuff. But they've done it for years, so it's not the end all be all. But in the future, you'd have those green boxes sitting towards the front side of the property.
If they were on the ground, then it would be inaccessible because you've got fences between every single property.
Right.
Well, there's a benefit for getting those lines away from the back of the property. A lot of people are afraid to put a pool in. They want to pull a cage in their backyard and you got the wires going across. So if you have a swing set or kids playing and the wires come down or a transformer blows like they have in the past, there's a problem of trying to repair the transformers and the lines in the backyard. I will say this from experience on doing this before. When we had Bright House and Duke Energy working together. Bright House used a lot of the old equipment, and we were hoping they would put in the same equipment that Verizon had put in. Everything is flat to the ground. There's no pedestals. At the time we did the project on the island, a Bright House was very stubborn. They put the old equipment in and just put it in the ground, did a lot of pedestals. And that was one thing that was mentioned when we tried to talk about some of the other streets, because some people were asking, hey, we'd like undergrounding 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And they said, no, they don't want the pedestals. So a few of our neighbors on Louisa called the electric company in and had the pedestals put in the ground, put the connections in the ground. My neighbor did it after the project was done. He paid for it. But if you're going to do the interior streets, it'd be a benefit to make sure that whatever Spectrum does or whatever, they put everything level to the ground like Verizon. And then as far as Duke Energy, who was very stubborn, they wanted the pedestals. You can put them at ground level. Might cost you a couple cents more because they have to dig maybe a little deeper to bend the wires over and put them in a box in the ground. But in the long run, that's the only way you're ever gonna get the people that don't live on the water to go along with this, because otherwise you'd see a line of pedestals on both sides of the street. And if you're going to do it, the only thing you'd have left is the transformers, if you can get the two companies to agree to put the pedestals underground.
Okay.
That was the problem we ran.
Question, with regards to the houses with the lines in the back. That I see that if we pull them forward like we have to according to current code, every one of those houses, whether they have lines overhead or underground, all have to be rewired. Their wires for the houses have to move as well. Where most of the neighborhoods, we didn't have to do that in the past. What was done on 22nd or what will be done in most of the neighborhood won't, it's just those interior coming off of Gulf Boulevard, I think.
Well, any
Is that
new,
right? Yes.
Yep.
we have an ordinance on the books. Any house that's built or remodeled, you have to go from the pole underground.
Right, but there's
Wow.
probably many that already have them underground, so
Yes.
now they have to run the wire forward instead of behind.
Right. But they would just leave the lines in the ground and cut them off. That's about what they would do, abandon them or pull them.
So I have one of those, well, I actually have two of those pedestals at the edge of my yard between myself and my neighbor. And honestly, I don't even think about it. Doesn't bother me a bit. It's not a big deal.
Doing the project, going through it, and that's something people ask. What's gonna be on the ground? Who's gonna get the transformers? Well, you don't know that. And then when you do the project, you're also gonna have more, you have to include lights. So there's gonna be either going with solar, like we did on the island, or put all new lights in, and there's gonna be more of them. Because the new standard,
Sure.
the light angle that comes off the bulb has got to touch one another all the way around. So there was an engineer that we hired to look at that, and he said, okay, you need so many lights. I think we had 17. We ended up with what, 30?
31, I think.
31.
31 with the extra.
From 17.
That was a few extra holes in the infrastructure.
What was the standard you had to follow? Do you know where that came from?
Pardon me?
What standard did you have to follow?
It was a state standard. It's,
State?
it's
It was the
any new
county
equipment, you have
photometrics
to have lights.
requirements. I think is what the engineer used. It wasn't ours, but I think that's what he was using, was the county has a photometric requirement that kind of aligns with the FDOT standard index on that. So they just use that.
Was that required?
Well, if you're going with the new lights, you can, the way that it works, most islands that we do, it's a like for like. So you can just put poles back where you were. I think they wanted something a little bit more, one, aesthetic, and two, kind of a little bit more. I think they had some hole, it was just so random through the neighborhood. They just wanted a little bit more consistency. So I think they just provided them, here's a photometric, give you a little bit more consistent flow through the neighborhoods. Where are the streetlights being fed now in these the finger streets that have them running down the back? I just thought about that. They don't have any at all, right?
There's one on my street.
Is it in the back side or the front side? Okay. So you're on one of the streets that has the power going to the front then?
My power is
One that.
in the back.
Yeah,
We
they
have a
run it out to
street
the.
light.
So I've got a line running across.
And then they
property.
jump
Okay.
down the street
Yeah.
sometimes.
The question I got is,
You don't have a lot of lights, I know.
if you're gonna move all these lines up front to the front of the house, how are you gonna move them? Are you gonna directional bore? Are you gonna do a saw cut in the street?
Just all directional bore. It's very non-invasive. Yeah, it doesn't affect driveways. Marv would be a good one on that too, to go through there. They went through some pretty tight, there's brick pavers in those sections, nice driveways, concrete. They're you won't even know it. It's a very non-invasive
They did a good
operation.
job.
The other thing is the lower from like 22nd Street down to the First Street. Each section or each couple of streets, you start accumulating heavier flooding. And FEMA has real high requirements of doing underground work and placing transformers, relay boxes and everything like that. So how high would they have to be?
They've got the option to put a 2-foot pad. You'll see them in some of the areas on Gulf Boulevard where they've got those pads that sit up about another probably 2 foot. So the box itself is usually about 3 foot tall, maybe not that much, about thigh high. Some of them will go up a little bit higher because they're in those low areas. So they just basically set them up on pads. So you can do that. It's kind of an optional thing. I just set them.
When you say option, was that optional to the aesthetics of the community, or is that a FEMA requirement?
FEMA doesn't have a specific requirement for FPL, so the system's
Under
plugged.
NFIP, they will.
I'm sorry?
I believe under the NFIP, they will, and you could lose your NFIP rating if you don't comply with the utility. Your utilities must meet certain requirements, and every time you're in a flooded area, they have to be raised to a certain level. So what I'm saying is FEMA does not issue permits or anything like that. You're correct. But NFIP will say, if you don't follow these requirements, we will pull your NFIP rate.
Okay. I don't know what that requirement, we do a lot of beaches and some active and,
Beaches, but I see these boxes 5 feet high too.
yeah, because they're sitting on a
And
2 foot.
You ask, so why is that? Because we flood here, and it looks
Yeah.
like, what's that word? Shit, okay? That's what I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
Find the devil.
To give an example, Rainbow Key was a recent one, and they have that same requirement, and there were some neighborhoods that just didn't want the pads that high because they just felt like they're just a little bit more obstructive in views. So they allowed them to resettle, so I don't think they lost any of their city's insurance requirements or anything. I don't think it was a hit for whatever reason, but the system is plugged a little bit different. They're designed to, they can get submerged. So I don't know if maybe there's a difference in some of the standard utilities that might be different from feeds for homes and stuff, but
After Irma hit this area, which it didn't hit this area, we got circled into that area where every private flood insurance company pulled out.
yep.
So now all we have on there, all we have is to rely on NFIP.
I can check with Google and never find out, see what they say.
Just to let you know, I don't think Belle Isle has lost a transformer in this flood,
Yeah, but Belle Isle sits a
And we-
lot higher than,
and we didn't.
yeah,
I know you're a little bit lower, but just to let you know, everything was underwater.
yeah.
And not one transformer went out, but you saw, I could look out my back of the house and you could see the transformers below.
Yeah.
And we never lost power.
Mark, is there like a recommended survey tool you've used to just figure out the interest in different areas? When you said when you saw about 80 to 90 or 80%, then it was successful. Is there a recommended questionnaire that we should use throughout the city to try to figure out where the interest is?
Yeah, we can send you some. Do that. I would say, usually the commissioners, we're doing a project in the city of Sarasota right now. The commissioners decide what that percent might be. I think it has to be over 50%, but some cities like 70%, some will, have the debate and say we want something a little lower, a little bit higher. So, Chris Rose pretty good about guiding that too. You want to have something, but usually my understanding is that's a, council or commissioner discretion as to what that threshold is, what limit they want to set. The survey can support that number and they can see, and then they go ahead and put it out for actual vote.
I think, Mark, if I remember correctly, ours was about 65%. And that was based on some of the homes that were underground before. They got a little reduction in the cost. Yep, that's the difference.
Kyle, the Seventh Street pumping station, did that get hit with water where the panel and everything went out? You remember during Helene? I don't remember. Yeah, I thought I saw major work being done.
That's the county, right? The county's
Yeah,
running
yeah.
it, so we don't.
What I'm saying is that water came up that high where it just wiped it all out.
Those are susceptible. I agree. I think to Marvin's point, the transformers are designed and built to where they're plugged and sealed. So like he's saying, they get submerged. We have quite a few islands where they took water this past couple of years in that storm. So they were fine and operated. I mean, you always have some anomalies, right? A few that might go out for obvious reasons.
Have you ever checked for leaks after a storm like that?
They do, they check, we don't know a leak because it'll show up on their systems, they're all automated now, so they'll know if they've got some intrusion. But, they can take water, I don't know the exact,
Well, everything can take water. it's the salt water that corrodes everything, and it doesn't do it today. It does it down the road, where if a transformer's up top, you just pull.
I have a feeling the electricians and the electrical companies are much smarter than us amateurs, but I'm sure that they have taken every precaution possible whenever they're suggesting and encouraging undergrounding. But I would certainly appreciate seeing that reassurance in writing if we ever decided to do something with it. So, what's next?
I'd like to at least could pull the entire city to find out where. Kind of get some numbers so we can measure the interest level.
I like the way that it's divided up. It makes sense, because you may have some areas that strongly want it, and you've got other areas that were like, nope. And at least it would be a good gauge. I think that, if you survey, the survey results should not come back to represent the entire city. Instead, it should represent their neighborhood.
The phase.
And then that way, if you realize that there's a large percentage in this area, now you can have a serious talk about doing this versus letting a majority neighborhood control the entire city.
I think as we've talked before, the main information I think we need though still goes back to the approximate cost. Because those people are gonna say, yeah, I'm really for it, but I'd like to know how much it's gonna cost me. So that's, when we were first talking about doing that middle section, that was the request to go ahead and pay that $8,000 or whatever it is, I can't recall, to where we would actually get a cost estimate. So that when I go around knocking on the doors and people see how much it's gonna cost, I can tell them, and that's gonna be a main request regarding whether or not they're in or out. I mean, that's just the way the world works.
Right.
If I can't tell them how much it is, or the survey that we go out doesn't tell them how much it is, I don't think they feel comfortable voting for it.
You don't sign a blank check?
Lloyd, I gotta emphasize, if you're gonna do the interior areas on your section, make sure that you find out before you go out that there'll be no pedestals above ground. Everything's gonna be, the only thing above ground is transformers.
Okay.
And maybe even think about putting in something in the bid for at least a couple of bushes around the transformers.
Mhm.
And with that little bit said, you're gonna get more of a buy-in.
Could impact it.
I mean, really.
And these days, a lot of people are painting those boxes. They look pretty cool, actually.
Well, but the electric company doesn't allow it.
They don't care.
They don't care. They did.
Because I
We-
painted mine at my office and they said, we don't care what you do with it.
Yeah.
Was that
They
transformer?
wouldn't do any,
Yeah.
I would
they
think
wouldn't do
bushes
anything to
around.
Push them around, yeah, just a couple of cheap bushes.
I think that,
as far
was
as
a red flag there.
For what it's
I
worth.
mean, you gotta,
Yeah.
can't go on top of them, but look at Belle Isle.
Yeah.
Those things are buried up there. You don't even know where the transformers are. But that's over 30 years.
So if we were to follow Vice Mayor Roberts' recommendation that we come up with a cost, what does it cost to actually, and do we actually want to come up with a cost for all three areas, or do we just want to come up with a cost for one and use that as a gauge? I'm trying to figure out how to do this without spending thousands and thousands of dollars to do all this engineering work to find out nobody wants it. That's my fear.
Be a good idea.
Do the one center section that Lloyd is involved in, see what the costs are. Get all the parameters down. If you're gonna put pedestals underground, we're gonna try to landscape a little bit to hide the transformers. You're gonna have new lights. And have the price tag on all of that, or at least close to it.
Now, Mark already provided us a number, right, for that?
Give us a proposal to figure out the probable
What-
cost
The
for
probable
that area.
cost, yeah.
And what was that?
$8,000
Just $8,000?
Less
for the.
for the
for the
proposal.
estimate
Yeah.
cost.
That was 5,750.
5,000. To get a number where I could tell somebody in that area, this is the approximate cost for each person, right?
Right.
And then also tell them that you can put it on non-ad valorem tax on your tax bill.
Of course,
You know, that's another
but
benefit.
the cost to actually do the calculations costs us $5,000.
Right. So what if it goes over that?
What goes over?
It doesn't. That's his
Yeah.
proposal.
That's proposal.
That's his proposal provided already.
But if if you put that out on a ballot question, it says this will cost $5,000, and when we get
No,
started.
no, this isn't for the,
This is for the survey.
It's just survey, or
yes, sir, yeah.
I've never heard of an engineering project ever be $5,000.
If I'm being honest, I did that as I'm trying to help out because the city's been one of our first clients, so we just tried to work within a budget. You're right, it would cost thousands and thousands more. We usually charge quite a bit north of that.
Thank you very much.
I was
we
gonna
have an
say,
engineer right here. I don't think he'd work
I
that.
think you did it already on Harrison and I can't remember what, but it was more than 5,000. I can guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to work, it's just, might have the buy-in, so we're just trying to do it. Like I said, it was one of our first clients, so we're just thankful for that
You mentioned
opportunity.
earlier, the transformers that are currently there on the poles. Is it a correct assumption that everywhere where there is a transformer now in the back of our homes, is it a correct assumption that that transformer for sure would be moved out to the front in a box?
More than likely one side or the other. That's the hard part, is
Okay.
what side of the street it will fall on.
Okay. So, yeah, so it would go on one of the.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because it's feeding 4 homes, so if it's just a redirection of how it's distributed. And for what it's worth, I'm going back to your earlier thing. Did you notice in Box Beach, they're wrapping the boxes? So they just paid a company to do it, right? You can shrink wrap the boxes like you would a car. I don't think it's that expensive. I think they pay a couple $100 per box. I can ask Dean.
Have you the transformers, the power?
Yeah, we did the switches right at Walsingham. As soon as, if you're coming up to the light, you'll see across the street, the boxes are already wrapped. So they do them. They don't, like, to your point, I don't think they really care. The easement will say you can't do anything, plan anything. Everybody does, but the wraps,
That told me they were not gonna paint it. They didn't care what I did to it, but
They're not gonna
they did
face it.
anything to make it look better.
yeah,
So,
Yeah. It's pretty common, so.
I think there is some merit that Mark mentioned earlier. If we did one of those three and it was successful, the other two groups would say, hey, that looks pretty cool. I think we would be more interested as well. And oh, by the way, how much did it cost? And it's spread out over 10 years, not a bad deal.
How much pushback when we were talking about pumping and we were going to place pumps out here at 9th Street? How much pushback do we have from neighbors saying they didn't want to see that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was some pushback. I mean,
That was about the same size as an underground.
Yeah, but it's not eliminating something that kind of looks like a third world country. That was the problem that we had in Bellevue Island Estates, was that wires were diagonal, they were parallel, they were straight across, and
point
there
about,
was nowhere safe to park your car without it getting dumped on by a large seabird. So,
and to your point about the cable
Stay it.
companies, they don't even take down an old wire when they replace, they just keep
No.
running new wires, and there's 10 wires running to one house for the same cable company.
We
Because
eliminated a tremendous amount of wiring that wasn't no longer needed, now that we have cell phones.
Yeah.
It's amazing what was ripped out, miles of wire.
so do we know exactly what the average cost is for the homeowner now?
no,
No,
It's the economy of scale. It's such I hate to give you a number. I would say Marv's is a good indicator, relatively speaking. What experience we're doing jobs across the entire state is that oddly, when we had the pandemic and we had the inflation that just kind of went out of control, a lot of the prices for the undergrounding, some of it went up on the power side, but the contractor side is not that, I'd say 3 to 4 or 5% higher than what it was 6 years ago, which is surprising. Duke's cost and FPL's has come up a little bit on the equipment side, but the construction, which is almost one of the most that's probably in our experience, probably one of the most costly of the operation. That hasn't seen the inflation over the last 6 years is what we'd anticipate.
So what's a rough number?
I'd have to go back and look at what
Sure.
might have been paid per parcel. It varies by if you're undergrounded already versus not. So there's a little bit of a difference to that. So some of the newer homes have already paid to have from the, from the box there at the foot of the pole to the home meter. So they get a little bit of a discount in that cost. So it's going to be based on the number. How many newer homes do you have in a particular section will drive that cost down? Because, you're eliminating all those service feeds there. You're just picking them up right at the pole base.
But you don't have a number.
Well, I think it was like 10
I was gonna say,
per house over 20 years.
say it was like 10 to 12, depending on.
So I remember,
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
10% onto that.
Maybe.
yeah, so you're looking at about, as I'm saying, it's not that much of a peak. We'll have to go look, see on Duke's side what that increase might be, but I would say you're probably looking at about the same.
And whenever you commit to this, if you decide to sell your home, you just pass it on to the next owner
And I tell you, the amount of
till it's paid off.
of benefit you get as far as real estate value.
Yeah.
I mean, our homes in there went 100,000, 200,000 over. And that's what Belle Isle was. I mean, those homes were high, but everybody else in the city was lower. But now that we're underground, you can see all the work that's going on. Well, some of it has to do with the flooding, of course, but prior to that, there was a lot of
I'm seeing
new
my,
construction.
I'm seeing my section because people were just talking on, next door and that why my taxes going up because they're estimating 20% increases and all like that, but my home value is $800,000 and I can't get 650 for it now. So,
That's why you appeal.
well, you can
That's why
do whatever you
let
want,
me
but
appeal.
what I'm
So-
saying is figures lie and liars figure. I mean, and
have to go in and
yeah.
fight them all the
Yeah.
time. It's just,
I would like to propose that the council recommends moving forward with the survey just for the middle section. And let's see what comes back and send out the survey and see what happens. If it's just $5,000, thank you very much. I think it's a worthy investment. It was certainly way more expensive for us to do the island.
Yeah.
So
don't we want to survey all
So I'm going at a discount. Why don't we survey each section and if it's 15 or 5, does it?
Yeah,
I don't know if he gives us a 3 times. Do we get that same deal for all 3 areas?
Yeah, like I said, this is, we're not making any money on it, so we're just doing this to help out. So where we can do that, we can pick them up in equal things. So if there's 3 pays, we could just do it for the 3 times that.
All right, well, let's do a quick see if we have a consensus on this. Marv, would you agree to surveying all 3 areas?
and the only thing I would add to it is what I said before, make sure you know what the cost is of the streetlights, transformers and the pedestals underground. The only thing that's above ground are the transformers. It'll be an easier sell.
And you'll include that detail in
I'll give you both options. That way you
Okay.
can weigh it out.
Councilmember Shirley,
Yes, I'm in support.
Councilmember Goff.
I'm on board.
All right, Councilmember Bankard.
I think we need more information on that before we do a survey and spend the $5,000, as I brought up about the height of these transformers, the flooding conditions and that.
All right, Vice Mayor Roberts.
I'm in favor.
And I'm in favor also. So this isn't an official vote. This is just a consensus. So you can take that information and do what you'd like with it. I believe you are completely within your spending limits. And
So the consensus is that we're gonna start with the middle and then possibly expand
I think we're gonna.
We're gonna do
I think the
all-
consensus was to do all 3.
all at once. Okay,
As far as
All right.
the estimated cost.
Right.
Proposal.
okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right. Mike,
Good.
appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good seeing everybody. Hope everybody has a great week. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, next up, we are discussing the Gulf Boulevard speed limit survey results. Take it away, City Manager Riefler.
Okay, I'm gonna pass this one over to City Clerk Thornsberry to go over the survey results. She put it together and totaled them all, so Take it away.
So what I'm hearing is if no one here likes the results, blame Kathy.
I know, that's what I'm afraid of. In the last workshop, we had discussed putting together a brief, simple survey. So we went ahead and put something together, just asking about the speed limit and what you would prefer to see. We sent it over to Sir Speedy to have it mailed out to all residents here in the city. We gave them, they had them for at least 2 weeks. There was a QR code on each postcard that directed you to go to the website, and you could use your IP address for one vote. So if you tried to go back in and revote on that, it did not work. We collected the results and you have them in front of you. I did put out tonight the newest updated because Friday, there was still a couple of hours left. So I went ahead after doing the agenda packet and updated it with what you have today in front of you with those results.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was thinking. That's specifically why I asked for a survey, because the most vocal are not always the majority. And I thought for sure that the most vocal about this, about wanting the speed reduced, would have contacted their neighbors and their friends and gotten everyone to buy in and fill out this survey. And that just did not happen, according to what I'm seeing here. I'll open up the floor. We'll start with Councilmember Goff. I know you live on Gulf Boulevard, and it can be a little traumatic at time, but
Yeah, for me, we're essentially a residential city. I'm gonna stick on the 30 regardless. I mean, I don't know why anyone would need 35 miles an hour. For any of us that live here, our time on Gulf Boulevard is short, man. So really, I think it's everyone else that kind of cuts through our city to get to the causeway, to get in and out of. So for me, it's 30.
all right, Councilmember Baker.
How long did, I got the card and I did the scan.
Mhm.
Did you post on there it would be closed at a certain date?
We did not have an expiration date.
Because I got some emails, you got some emails today,
We
and
did.
there's some upset people. And I agree with what the mayor said about, well, truly, there was no vocal input in this chamber about the 35 mile or 30 mile. I don't remember too many residents showing up about it. If I'm correct, any residents. So I don't have a problem with 30 or 35. And my argument is you only need one aggressive driver to clip somebody good. So I don't know where to go with this right now. I mean, it's not going to impact me too much. It's not going to impact my area where I live, because I live south of the causeway. But then you have Indian Rocks, it's 30, which is great. But then you have Sand Keys, it's going to stay at 35. So,
All right, thank you. Councilmember Bean.
All right, I'm in agreement with the 30-mile-an-hour limit, and if you do the math, at 35, within a mile, so I think from Causeway to the end of our city is about a mile, that close?
roughly, yeah.
All right, somewhere in that.
Roughly.
All right, so if that's a mile, it'll take you at 35, 1 minute and 43 seconds to go from the end of the city down the Causeway. At 30 miles an hour, it'll take you 2 minutes.
So what's the delta?
So we got 17 seconds difference, 30 to 35.
Alright.
So I think the people living on the north end of the city can afford 17 seconds more driving time. And as far as all the traffic that has been created with the bridge since we put it in, and all the construction going on in Sand Key, it's impacted this community like crazy for the last 25 years. And Clearwater is never going to stop. So I say the heck with Clearwater. Let's do something for the city, a little safer for 17 seconds. And that's the only increase in time at 30 miles an hour from 35. Come on. Why not do it? It just
Thank you
doesn't make
very
any
much.
sense from the safety aspect alone.
All right, Councilmember Shirley.
Well, just sticking to the facts. You know, I'm indifferent. I don't care either way. Clearly residents care. So I can only go by the survey. That's my only input.
All right,
Results of the survey.
and you're saying just leave it alone.
I mean, I don't know how you, when you have 319, I mean, when we had a pretty good turnout for this little survey, which I thought was a pretty effective way to do it. You know, I know I got the card, I scanned it right away, I was done, threw it away, that was it. So I'm not sure, you know, the people not responding and being upset, they had plenty of time to respond to it. And so therefore, I think given the way the survey was done, we had a good response and we have, you know, the residents spoke.
All right, Vice Mayor Roberts.
I was initially for the 30, but I agree, what Councilmember Shirley was just saying that, hey, if the citizens are saying they prefer the 35, then that's the way I would vote.
All right, and I am also not only listening to our constituents, but also I believe the county did come here and say that speed was not an issue for our city. We gave them every opportunity to point blame and say that we had a big problem, and they did not have the data to back it up. So you had the county saying it's not really a problem. You have the voters saying they don't really think it's a problem. And there was what I'm seeing here is there was a small, very vocal group of people that wanted to change it. So my vote is to just leave it alone. Yes.
We have 1,600 residents in the city and only this many voted.
Well, the argument was snowbirds didn't get it. I don't know if that's true or,
It went to all the residents' address.
yeah, I'm just saying, that's what some of the arguments were.
We did mailing.
We did the mailing address, so it would have
It-
gone if
you know,
they're,
they don't participate, but still,
or if
I
their
mean, my
mailing's
God.
been forwarded.
why not drop it?
We can say the exact same thing if we didn't have enough election turnout.
That's-
This is
You
consistent.
can argue that all day,
Turnout.
all day, long, but from the safety,
That are interested.
from the safety standpoint for the residents, I can't see any other reason to leave it at 35.
Well, right now, I believe.
I mean, there's no accidents and all that, but that doesn't matter.
Right. Right now, we're at a stalemate. Councilmember Harper will be at the next meeting. And Kyle, if you want to add it to the agenda and take a formal vote, go from there.
Okay.
Is it, everybody okay with that?
Is the poll still open?
It's not, it closed Friday.
Can we reopen the poll by any chance or?
That would be stacking the deck.
You only get one vote, so I don't know how that's stacking to the deck.
Well, I'm talking about the snowbirds and,
No, I'm saying if it were still open.
yeah,
I don't understand.
no, I agree.
If
yeah.
everyone can only vote once, then. That's all you're saying is that.
Was it on the website too?
Yes.
Yes.
And I also saw it on social, also saw it on social media.
There, you guys did a fabulous job, okay?
There's no
I mean,
question.
yeah, I mean, and this survey isn't a real bad survey. It's, what was it, 400 and some people? You know,
It's better than we've gotten in the past on
It's a good
surveys.
turnout for a
how much did
survey.
we get for the easements? Something about the same, was it? Yeah.
That was just over 100, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
very
this-
many.
We've had a good response on this one compared to a lot of our questionnaires
And-
and surveys response.
And again, the people that were the most concerned, I expected this to go the opposite direction than what it did. Which I'm totally blown away that it went the opposite direction. And that's why I can't vote to change it. Because I'm gonna listen to the majority of the city and even though it's 319, you stack them all up, it's 416 responses. And that's sometimes more than we have in election turnouts. So if we're willing to elect council members on less votes than this, I'm certainly willing to accept this as for face value. So that's where my vote stands. And City Manager Riefler, if you don't mind, just put it on an agenda item and let's take a vote at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right? Sure. All right, now we are on to item number 3, which is discussion of an architectural review board. Who put this on the agenda? This sounds like a council member, Shirley.
Yes, I requested it, and I'll tell you why. We have so many variances coming in front of our board to consider, and most of them are for elevating houses, for setback requirements. And a lot of the requests are because simply the staircase for the setbacks, fall in the setback. That can be solved by bringing the staircase underneath the house. There's no need to build out into the front yard. And that's just one of many. I mean, take a tour around the city and you can see a lot of stuff happening that we probably on new construction would never allow. And so I think it's just good to put some standards in place and have a committee review before they go into permitting, get the stamp of approval that, yes, we're meeting our code requirements. And I know we're limited to what code, how much we can adjust our code, but I would even like to see some standards on building material, finished material, landscape requirements, things like that at the front end, rather than dealing with it after the fact. So many times we get a site plan and it doesn't show us what their landscape plan is, what their hardscape's gonna look like. They're done and the entire place is covered with concrete. And I know our code doesn't allow that, but that's what happens. We're missing some pieces in the permitting review process.
All right, Marv?
Now, a long time ago, I brought up the fact that we'd have to do an as-built. Once the house is built, go out there and measure, make sure everything is at the right height, or do it in intervals as the house is being built. It just makes sense. Same thing with docks.
It's already part of the code.
It is, yeah.
I know it should be part of the
Well,
code.
it didn't should, it is
Through the code.
part of the code.
Can I just,
Built,
Yeah, well, elevations.
well, elevation, but I mean, you'd be surprised at
That's what you were
different things
talking
that
about.
docks are put in and pools are put in and all of a sudden they're.
Talking about the structures, the houses, so that already exists.
Councilmember Shirley.
the other thing I wanted to add is I think it would be important too, and I talked to Kyle about this, is concrete pours are a nightmare in the city. They're dumping concrete waste into our our storm systems. It's the wild west out there. There's no silt fences down. It's a mess. And I think that part of our code should have in there that the day you're pouring concrete, you need to have an inspector on site or something to eliminate some of what I'm seeing happen. And a lot of it is those elevated houses. Again, it's not the contractor that's building new, it's the elevated houses. No one knows what's going on. They have plans they don't know how to read. The homeowners have entered into these contracts that I know of one where their slab under their house sits below the road, which I know that shouldn't be. There's some struggles and problems going on, and I don't know how you correct it. I just recognize the problem. So that might be our resource for this stuff.
Most of that are city ordinances, so I'm not quite sure. And
Well,
architecture review board, I mean, are we really trying to control the architecture style of the community? I don't know. I mean, one of the reasons I built here is because there was freedom to bring in something new, so.
Well, I just got a complaint about, somebody's building their dock. The width is right, the length is right, the height is too high. And You heard it, and
Yeah.
there's no restriction on height of a dot. No, but there's restriction on height of a house. So now they're saying, well, I can't see to the left, I can't see,
Unfortunately, waterfront does not guarantee you an awesome view. We've learned that.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, I mean,
All it takes is one yacht out there and
well, that's what I'm
done.
saying, and that's, I guess that's what the complaint is. I mean, I didn't go out, but you put the big yacht in there.
Well, that's, hey, we're in a waterfront community. What are you gonna do?
so, Councilmember Shirley, what would you like to see? What would you like the council to do? Consider a committee?
I think we should consider a committee, but that, but I don't know what that looks like, and maybe that's a question, for Tom, if this is something we can do or not, but, I know what we're doing currently with these, elevating these houses is not working in our community.
I think there's a distinction between enforcement of your code versus having someone review it to have those that are interested in building in town have an idea as to what the city wants. It's just totally different. When I drafted this architectural review committee printout that you got in your packet for the city of Dunedin about 10 years ago, it was for the sole purposes of architectural design. And that is what is the structure going to look like, not whether it complies with the code. So if your concerns are code requirements, that's just putting more pressure on your building official to make sure that he follows through and he knows what our code provides here and enforce the code. And if it's not been enforced, then to bring a code enforcement action against it to get it in compliance. But this architectural review committee that we drafted in Dunedin was something totally different. It was for architectural design in the downtown area. And it also required committee members that were architects. So we had to have, several individuals either needed to be an architect, a landscape architect, or interior designer. And so, and even then, once those people, you find those professionals in your town to be volunteers, they still have to enforce the code as written.
Huh.
They're not redrafting a code. So you just got an extra set of eyes, and you can have your building official be the extra set of eyes, or bring in a planning consultant and have your planning consultant have the extra set of eyes.
Can we do like a pre-application meeting and then you send it to, because if they're not meeting the criteria and they're trying to bump their stairs out into setbacks, and if we can go, hey, this doesn't fit in the setbacks, we could maybe bring in an architect to review or an engineer to review the plans prior to going to permitting, because that's what's happening. The county's not catching it. They don't catch anything. If we don't catch it in-house here, it ends up getting permitted, and then we have a problem.
You may want to go to a private provider that some of the smaller cities are doing, and have a little bit more control to push your building official to do certain things, and not one that's trying to, control building throughout the entire county.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that we struggle the same thing every time we get a new code enforcement officer. It takes them a while to figure out what the heck's going on in Bel Air Beach. In the case of Dunedin, I think that the code you're referring to was to develop a certain look and feel
In downtown.
that fits in with the community, and we certainly don't have that. We're all over the map with the way that our homes are built and remodeled and everything else, and it would be impossible to dial that in.
Right.
But I agree. I think that we can do a much better job with reviewing plans and making sure that before the work is done, they're not coming back and asking for I'm going to do this and ask for forgiveness
The
later.
variance for a 4-foot, something that exceeds the height limit by 4 feet. And the roof is half torn off and the house is getting, there's all these issues going on right now in our city that those plans should have never been approved.
See, I wonder, because this happens so often, especially with the county, we find years later that the county has made mistakes. And I'm wondering, what's the real cost difference of having a private firm versus contracted services with the county for building?
Randy did all that for us, if you remember. And he actually gave us private provider language and everything like that. The problem is I brought, I think, two of them into you, Kyle, and I thought we had something worked out. Then they went something like $25,000 up front. And then it weeded down or whatever, and we can't.
It was like a retainer or something?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that though, can you?
I guess they
So
can do whatever
it's
they want.
Normally based upon the application fee, they get paid based upon the application fee, and then usually their contracts provide for additional things. If we want them to do something other than what would ordinarily not be required in a permit application review, we'd have pay for that. But I know that Bel Air Bluffs uses a private contractor. Maybe what we could do is we could pull that contract and take a look at it, and Kyle can talk to Deborah. Safe built, I think. it is.
Yeah, at the time we were trying to do
Cooper
both.
is- So-
We were trying to give the people the option, county or private provider, and I think both agencies said, oh no, we want it all,
Yeah, one or the other.
or nothing, you know?
Yeah, that's what it should be. So you can control it.
Just a comment. I remodeled my house in 2005. That's when it started. We finished it into 2006. At that time, we had to put all kinds of metal brackets all over to hold everything together as far as a hurricane clips. Had to break open all the walls in the house and re-drill into the footers that were underneath the center of the house and make sure that they couldn't be lifted up if the roof was attached to that particular wall. 2 years later, the county required our neighbors, which is two houses down, you may know him. Angus, he works for the county. That house, they cut the walls out every 4 foot. That was the new requirement for water washing up or wave action, so the walls wouldn't collapse. Now, my house wasn't in that set of changes, but all the roof clips were. But when that house was done, you had to cut the walls out. Now, in these houses that were raised, did they cut the walls out to anchor the footing to the lintel? I didn't see that being done. And the other thing is, all these older homes, there's no wire screening in the foundation when they pour the floor.
Our friend that used to serve on the council that raised his home, he actually has breakaway walls. So they are.
I mean, that's the level. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
above, once in the house itself, not the lower section.
That doesn't sound right.
Well, there's too many inconsistencies. Yeah. Granted, my house is on grade, the neighbor's house is on grade. But when you raise a house and that thing is moving around, why wouldn't you wanna kind of strengthen the walls before you raise it? Or at least check the floor and see if you got wire screening in the concrete, because if it cracks, the floors are not poured over the footings, they're poured on the inside on the older homes. The footings are put in and the floors are poured up to the footing.
Well, let's see how many of these structural engineers still have licenses when it's done.
Well, a lot of these
That's.
slabs were monolithic pours.
Pardon?
A lot of these slabs were monolithic pours when they put them in here.
Mhm.
And whether they had rebar screening or whatever, who knows? I mean, they went in the 60s, 50s, whatever.
And now you're lifting home.
But now the one behind me, they lifted it. And the contractor that lifted it, he came over and he was giving me an estimate. And I said, well, what happens if it faults? 50 years in business, never had one. And he lifted that
Okay.
one, it cracked, the foundation cracked. So
But it really boils down to,
Yeah.
as long as they build it towards what the code requires, that's all they have to do.
Yeah.
Whether we think it's good or
Yeah.
not,
True.
as long as they
Yeah.
build it to the code, then that's all that's required of them.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I'm just bringing up things that I see happening
as long as
around
they
and I
have a
kind of
license.
wonder about.
And I guess as long as they have a licensed professional designing it and it meets our code and we've reviewed it and given them a permit, we have to hold firm at that, but
and we won't allow in the past, I brought this to your attention, we won't allow houses to be lifted only like 3 or 4 feet, right? They have to be lifted.
I mean, we'd allow
Well,
anything.
it depends, because if it's not to code, then it can't be improved over 50%. So if you were gonna try to raise it slightly, you wouldn't be able to. I don't know why you would do that. Usually you get it up of.
Cause I don't think you have to be 8 feet in the air to be out of the water in many of the.
Well,
Like-
let's say you're 4 feet
Right,
right now,
yeah.
and you raise it 4 feet. Now you're 8 foot. So the storm surge of 10 foot, you're not gonna have water in the house. If you have plug panels,
Mhm.
2 feet, now you're good for 12. You know what I'm saying?
I
Just
agree with you.
So why can we lift the house? Cause I'll lift my house tomorrow if I can lift it 3 feet, because you can still save your driveway, you can still save your garage.
You'd have to show it was under 50% improvement of the value. I don't know. For the lift.
Cause you're only lifting it up a little. I mean, but I agree, cause I often wonder, why is everyone flying these houses so high in the air?
Yeah,
It's
and
not
it does
necessary.
help, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
They don't have to be 24 feet in the air, whatever they're doing, you know?
some of them are like 15 feet up.
Yeah.
Minimum. But if you're only going up and then you're doing it right, you're not causing flooding to your neighbors, you know what I'm saying? You're just
Yeah.
straight up.
When we hire Safe Build, you can make an appointment with them and find out, you know, cause I,
No, I've had contractors saying we'll lift it for this amount of money and it's not that much.
So I guess my question is do we have an action item on this? Are we gonna look into privatizing instead of using the county as an option? Get some quotes and look at it again. I certainly think that the county can't possibly check everything the way that we would like them to do it. And we've seen over and over where they've definitely missed some items because they couldn't possibly know every single page of our building code. So I would be all for at least looking into it and revisiting that, if the council sees fit with that. Council? Yeah,
I'm in favor.
would say.
of that.
all
I'm in
right,
favor.
okay, well.
The way I
Got
understand.
another action. item.
Safe
Perfect.
Build would function as the building official, but
Trying to
the
make it
county
easier.
would still be the building official. They still would have to certify and approve everything.
The building official, once you get your building official here, he's the one that's gonna be making those decisions and you won't be going to Pinellas County.
Okay.
The only reason you'd go to Pinellas County would be if, docks.
Okay.
You know, the navigational, authority.
Would we still have to run a permit through them like we do? Our permit process is double.
It would be stuck here. It would not go any further.
So when we fill out the permit now here, we then have to go to the county and they put, you know what I'm saying? And then they put
It
our
eliminates
information on
that.
there,
It eliminates that.
so we can just bypass that.
The private provider still submits to the county because the
Yeah.
county does the inspections unless you're gonna hire a private provider to do the inspections as well.
Yeah, so like Madeira Beach, they have a private provider, the building official does the inspections as well. So
Gotcha.
it's a.
Because
we need to look at
Yeah,
and see what
the two are not the same.
Okay, my provider.
And I'll go to Bel Air Bluffs and talk to them and see how if they're happy with the process.
Make sure they're happy and that the process is efficient. And I don't see how it could possibly be any slower.
Can't be any worse than what we're dealing with right now.
So we feel the problem is that the county is proving,
Anything put in
Build it
front.
Thought they shouldn't approve.
and we get stuck with having to deal with it at a variance level now.
Correct.
Right,
Because it was approved,
that's
but
right.
it doesn't meet our requirements.
Wasn't that bill that Nick DeSeglia just passed, reducing the time for the county?
There are requirements now as to when things are supposed to be turned around, when they're actually filed, and your building official would be doing the same thing too. But that is all based upon a complete application. You have to have a complete application, and 99% of the time, the application when it comes in is
Not complete. Mm.
And so that kind of
Yeah.
slows things down, so.
I've even had an engineer tell me he just submits to see how close he is, right? He knows he's not gonna get straight through with the first submittal. And I'm like, so he's using the building officials
Do his work.
to do his work.
Done.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you got a bunch of action items, but
In the middle of budget season.
yep. And we will, we'll bring this, speed limit thing up at the next council meeting, and that'll be on the agenda. We'll vote on that, and, I think that's it. Meeting adjourned.
The 22nd. Daddy said you should eat before you go. I said, I don't, it's gonna be very.